God will call somebody to fix my microphone. Oh, there we go. I might even be able to get away with saying I planned that, but because today's word is call. So anyway, Sharon and I went to Cincinnati this last week to cheer on the Brewers. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had a great trip with Sharon's mom. She's 93. And boy, no stopping her. We had a great time. Anyway, good to get away. Good to be back. Take a look at your bulletins. There are some announcements in there. We're looking for people, lots of opportunities for you to serve. Just like that. Let us stand and join in our call to worship. Be seated. Our reading for today is from Matthew.
As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. The word of the Lord.
We're still working some of the kinks out. Transitioning from our usual liturgical service to our summer, more relaxed service. Today's lesson is about call. In our gospel lesson, Jesus is just beginning his ministry. And he goes to Capernaum, to Galilee, and he's walking along and he sees some brothers fishing with their father. And he walks up to them and he says, "Follow me." And they do. This is a very big contrast to the call stories of the rest of the Hebrew Bible. Every single prophet that has a call story in the Bible has some version of this. God says, "I want you to go and do something for me." And they go, "Oh, who, me? No, I could never do anything." Jeremiah says, "I am only a youth." Jonah says, not me. Or, "Okay," and then he goes the other way. All of the prophets of the Old Testament, as part of their story, is to resist the call first. And maybe when they talk about prophets, they're being asked to do something that might get them killed. And so maybe they realize how dangerous this could be. Moses, God comes and says, "Go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go." "No, I stuttered. I can't do that." I think there are a couple kinds of calls in the Bible. One is a call that we take upon us in baptism or in confirmation. One of the things we do when we affirm our baptism in the confirmation service is we affirm that we are now part of the body of Christ and that we have a new vocation, not just our secular vocation or sacred vocation of what you do that makes money, that helps you feed your family, but the vocation of being a member of the body of Christ. You work for the good of others. You serve God through serving one another. So there's that kind of call. And of course, there's the kind of call which only you can hear. I remember myself in high school seeing my dad be a pastor. I thought it was kind of cool that he got to get up and tell people stuff every week. I thought that would probably be the fun part of the job. But then I also saw how hard
later said, my dad was not as confident as I am. I mean, that's an understatement. And so I saw how sometimes even depression would overtake him, which did not make the things he said better. And I thought, I have no interest in being a pastor. That would be the last thing I would do with my life. And I went to Carthage, and I decided I was going to find a field of study that would be the furthest possible thing from Christian ministry. So I became an econ major. And I actually kind of liked the science part of econ, like understanding how and why things either succeed or fail, and how the macro and micro economics of our nation. That was not boring to me, that was very interesting. But why I didn't stay in economics was the people. The professors, the other students, they all were very cynical. They always had someone poured orange juice in my cornflakes this morning sort of vibe about them. They had no little spark or bright light to shine on the world. It was all doom and gloom. So I left Carthage not knowing what I was going to do with my life. I found an opportunity through Lutheran Youth Encounter. They had putting these rock bands together, and I applied. I went to one of the gatherings in Chicago, and I saw what they were doing, and I was like, that would be cool. That would be really fun. I'd be really good at that. Only I didn't have much to offer because I didn't play an instrument, and I did sing a little bit. And apparently they couldn't find anyone else. And so the last weekend before they began the training, they called me and said, we've had an opening come up. Somebody who was supposed to do it can't do it. Would you like to be a part of this? And I said, absolutely. Sometimes God calls us when we don't even know it. I traveled, and I was part of this team of people telling the good news of Jesus to youth and adults through song, through puppet shows, and through skits, and the skits and the puppet shows and all that I was really good at. And 2 months into our tour, our bass player quit, and so I learned to play the bass. The song Lean on Me, that's all I could play. And then next week I learned the second song, and then a third song, and pretty soon I was up to speed. And then I thought, well, this was easy. I think I'll learn to play the guitar. Now that's a whole different deal. And at the end of the year, I was thinking, well, I maybe would like to be a youth minister. That seems like a good thing. Maybe I'll look into some youth ministry opportunities. I still, if you'd ask me, are you going to be a pastor? No, absolutely not. Where the real money is youth ministry. That's where the excitement is. You can sleep on the floor. You can go, serving in Mexico with a bunch of teenagers. I'm not going to be a pastor. I was very reluctant to become a pastor. I kind of did it saying, well, I guess I'll give this a shot, but I know it's not going to work. And well, here I am, for better or for worse. So how do you hear God calling you? I'm going to answer that in 1 minute. I had one more thing I wanted to say. Sharon and I went to Cincinnati, and we were just really going for a chance to watch the Brewers beat up on an inferior ball club. And go to the stadium and wear our Brewers gear, be all excited. But what we found in Cincinnati completely blew my mind. The history for that, I did have chili. I wouldn't call it chili, but what blew my mind was the history. There was an area of Cincinnati that was settled by German immigrants, and it was called Over the Rhine because the Cincinnati River looked a lot like the Rhine River if you squinted a little bit, at least when they first arrived. But like many Midwest urban areas, the Germans left and other people moved in, and the jobs went, and the systemic urban blight, the poverty, the violent crime came in the 70s. It was a ghost town. Many of the high-rise buildings in downtown Cincinnati were looking for tenants. It was a very difficult place. You really had to be careful where you went. One of the highest violent crime rates in the nation for a city its size. I know what this is like because I used to live in the hood in Milwaukee. I lived down on 27th Street and McKinley. Not the safest area. I had gunshots all the time, ringing out almost every night in the summer in some part of the neighborhood. I developed PTSD to where when I was driving from King of Glory out in Greenfield, lovely Greenfield, into my neighborhood, my blood pressure, I could feel it rising. Nothing was happening. And I went there because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to try to do something that could make the world a better place, this city center of Milwaukee. And I tried a lot of things and I failed every single time. Not because I wasn't genuine, not because I didn't try hard, because the problems were way bigger than I anticipated. Cincinnati, though, is a different story because in 2004, 3 of their Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, came together. I'd like to picture them like golfing somewhere. And they said, let's do something about our downtown. Why don't we each put some money in from our companies? It'll be a tax write-off. We'll encourage other people to do the same. We'll maybe put some private equity funds together so people can, invest. And we will try to turn the tide on the downtown area. And the first thing they did was a place right by the ballpark. It was a park in a square. And they redid that, and they kicked out all the homeless people. They had a lot of police presence at first. And Fifth Third Bank, one of the companies, hosted a music festival 5 nights a week. They would have music in the square. And people started to come down there and go, wow, this actually is really pretty down here with the river in the background. They had a new baseball stadium. And more people started joining in. And they started redoing different parts of the city. We were staying across the street from a place called Washington Park, which is kind of like where I used to live in Milwaukee, by Washington Park. Only they put about $50 million in to re-landscape the park, to put in a splash pad. We did not have splash pads when I was a kid. This would have been a great part of my childhood. There's all these little holes in the ground, and you don't know when the water is going to come up out of the hole. And so you kind of try to make your way through this maze of water, and then you end up getting all wet, and the kids absolutely love it. And then they put in a band shell, and they have free concerts. They put in a little place, a really nice pergola, and a place where you can get a beer or a sandwich. It's just a beautiful, beautiful sight. And then in the middle of the park, they went down and they dug
two-story below-ground parking garage so that you can go and drive in and come right out of the middle of the park. Beautiful. One of the things, somebody came along and said, hey, I have an idea. Why don't we open up an incubator for small businesses? So if somebody would like to start a business, we can give them some help to get started, kind of a soft landing, and get them motivated and encouraged with the kind of information that they need. And so they had a bunch of these in the city where if you had an idea that you wanted to try, you could go and see if it would be feasible to become a business. And they started small businesses. And then somebody said, you know, we could do that with restaurants. And so the restaurant incubator was born, and to date, they have over 1,000 entrepreneurs who have started restaurants who got their start in this little place where you can come and you can use all the equipment and make some food, and then you can sell it, and if you figure out that you want to do this, and the people go, yeah, your food is great, then the city will set you up for a year in one of these storefronts that they've remodeled into a little cafe and give you a head start and a fighting chance. Most restaurants fail in the first 5 years. But they have over 1,000 restaurant entrepreneurs, food trucks, places, chefs that were trained in this little incubator. Somebody had an idea. I would say they felt called to do something. And the key is that each person used the passion that they had, this person for culinary arts, and the skills that they had, and they met a need that was in the community. Another thing that Cincinnati has done that I think is maybe one of the best things, they created 3 state-of-the-art shelters for homeless people. So you don't have homeless people sleeping around town without being offered a place to go. And it's not just like our shelters here, where you get a cold bologna sandwich and a pep talk about Jesus or something, but they really give you a chance to overcome your addiction. They give you job training or retraining. They find opportunities for you to work. They have a goal that anybody in the city of Cincinnati that wants to work will find a job for you. They have a website you can go on and fill in your information, and someone will contact you, and they'll find a way to get you working. That's amazing. All of these little pieces, all throughout the city, have created something so special there. As we walked around the city, we felt totally safe, and it was a wide, diverse group of people that lived there. Some people who had moved back into the neighborhood, other people who had lived there the whole time, who have been able to find a new trajectory for their lives. So how do you know? How do you come to the point to hear that God is calling you to something? Maybe you are like the Old Testament prophets who go, oh, not me, I'm too old. I'm going to let somebody else do that. Or, I don't know, I can't do that. I'm no good at any of that. I can't speak in front of people. I can't. In my life, prayer has changed from when I was a kid praying for the Packers, mostly, to as an adult praying that I'd find a girlfriend, to using prayer now way, way more as an opportunity to listen. I mean, God already knows what I want, what I need, and has provided most of it. So prayer then becomes, part of prayer becomes listening. So we're going to try this week. This is a challenge that I have for you. Only if you feel God tugging at your heart to try this. Otherwise, just let it go. I had this dream last night as I was thinking about this sermon and mulling it over, and I fell asleep. I woke up and I had this dream. And it was kind of crazy, actually. I got up and I preached a sermon that everybody in the church take out your phones and find Facebook and go to your friends section, the little tab. Not the friends Facebook wants you to have, but the friends you already have. And scroll down the friends. Listening, is God calling me to connect with any of these people? Maybe you come across a name and you hear, maybe it's a small whisper of truth, or maybe you're filled with wonder about someone. You think, I kind of lost track with this person. And in my dream, everybody went home and they did this and they started connecting with people, and those people started connecting with other people, and this big groundswell of people listening for God to call them to act overtook the whole country, and then I got a medal. It's a dream, you know what can you say? I don't even know what kind of medal you would get. I could pin it on my chest. When I was a little kid, my church sponsored missionaries to Africa. I imagine there was a time when this church probably sponsored missionaries as well. They all did. Well, I remember the missionaries came and they were staying at our house, and we had a potluck dinner at the parsonage, and people came, and the guy, the husband of the missionary couple, he was speaking, and he had a slideshow, a little slide projector. You remember what that is? That was a long time ago. And he had all these pictures of where he was serving in Africa. And he shared a story about how God came to him and just told him, I need you to go to Africa. And how he didn't want to go to Africa. It was the last place in the world he wanted to go. But finally, God wore him down, and he went to Africa. And he showed us all these pictures. And I started to worry. What if God calls me to Africa? I do not want to go to Africa. And then two things happened that changed my mind. The first thing, or that helped me not to worry. The first thing is he showed a picture of kids my age swimming in a river. And he said in Africa, they don't have bathtubs. People just swim in the river. And I thought, I like this place. This might just be not so bad. I mean, a lot of the pictures, yeah, not me. And then he said this, and I remember this. I don't know, I was probably 6. He said, God will not put your heart in Africa if Africa is not in your heart. Dodged a bullet there. I take it back. I don't want to swim in the river. I like bathtubs now. It might sound scary to listen, to hear what God is calling you to do. Might be something really big, life-changing, earth-shattering. Or maybe it's reaching out to someone on your list that somehow God nudges you in a little bit when you read their name. And you write a note that says, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. I was just doing some crazy thing my pastor told us to do. Go through our Facebook page and find people we've lost track of, and I feel bad, and I'd like to just reach out and say hello. And I hope you're doing well. Maybe include something about you that's going well. Don't tell them all the aches and pains. That's the second email. God calls us sometimes through prayer, sometimes
like to be on the church council?
I think that's how God works. If you remember the song we sang, the lyrics of the song, I have heard my people's pain, all who walk in darkness and sin, my hand will save. And you think, oh good, we don't have to do anything. God's hand is going to save them. The very next line is, whom shall I send? Okay, this is how God works. He's there, and he's like looking around and seeing, okay, who's got a heart for this? Who's got the skills for this? Who's got the passion for this? How can we make this happen? Whom shall I send? And then the next line is it I,